Hello again. After the end of the Second World War, it was plain that the former leaders of Germany, along with senior soldiers and other supporters of the regime, could not be allowed to escape without punishment. The problem was, though, that there existed no laws against much of what they had done, no legal basis upon which to try them. So it was that a raft of laws were created, things like waging aggressive war and crimes against humanity, genocide, and so on. And the top Nazis were put on trial at Nuremberg, and most of them hanged. Before going any further, I hasten to assure viewers that I am not advocating such a drastic penalty for men like Tony Blair, Boris Johnson, and Keir Starmer. Much as some viewers perhaps envisage a scenario for these scoundrels involving a wall, blindfolds, last cigarettes, and a dozen men with rifles, it is, I fear, an impractical notion in the modern world. This doesn't mean that our former leaders should be allowed to retire and enjoy their ill-gotten gains without being called to account for what they have done to our country. Between them, they have, through various means, such as mass immigration, measures supposedly designed to combat COVID, the imprisonment of people for simply speaking their minds, and various other things, been responsible for much suffering, not least of prisoners of conscience, locked up simply for expressing views and opinions which our rulers found unpalatable. Between them, they transformed Britain from an easygoing liberal democracy with a proud history into something which more resembles East Germany before the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's a country where people no longer feel able to say what they think, but automatically self-censor and ask themselves, am I allowed to say that? We saw the other week a local councillor being investigated by the police simply for mentioning that she had been born and bred in a certain part of Scotland. This was examined by the police as a possible hate crime. Britain is not at war with an enemy power, nor has it been, really, so any such trials could hardly be called war crimes trials. Somebody recently suggested they could instead be called peace crimes trials, which does have a certain ring to it. It would require, of course, retrospective legislation of the kind used at Nuremberg, but I, for one, can see no problem with that. So appalling have been the actions of some of the members of governments over the last 25 years that I think the gravity of what they have done justifies such a course of action. The latest opinion polls show that Reform is on course to win over 400 seats at the next election, with Labour gaining just 73 seats and the Tories reduced to 7. Such a vast and unprecedented control of the House of Commons would give a government like that a mandate to undertake a project along the lines which I have suggested. It irks me to think of those terrible men who have deliberately dismantled the country I love being allowed simply to fade into the sunset and never brought to book for their criminal enterprises. A few years in prison would be the lightest penalty which they should face.